And we're back. Where were we? Maybe better just start from the start again. Maybe just go through an example, honestly. We went fake water, fake. Honestly, every time I saw double fake or double true, I was chilling. It was real fire. I was like, they're not gonna die. I had no concerns at all. What was that? Fake water, fake true. Oh yeah, I left this here, but I think fake here is also this. This is true this. But so for this, it'll be look at motion. You'll end up with what? Look at. You'll do motion here. Short spread is on waters. Short gaze is look at. Fake water, or oh, it's true fire, so it's chariot. We said motion and spreads are water. And long is dynamo. So this is what's going to happen for what we saw. Short motion, water is spread. Look at, where did the gaze go? Long gaze is not here. Where does long gaze go? Right here, right? Or no, before it. Wait. Over here. Long gaze. And long gaze is look at. We get in, anti-light, float not. Water is spread. We're going to see Momo spread. We're going to see Tenyu spread. And they're all going to move. Momo spreads, Tenyu spreads, they're moving. Mana charge, just look at, because it was fake. Tracing in the middle, and they're all going to look in. And then it's chariot. We're going to the middle, and then we're going to walk out to do our stack spreads. And it's motion. Water is spread. Coming into the gaze, let's look in. And then we come in and do dynamo. And then there's mana release. I think it was fake thunder, so if thunder is real, the ice is fake. Wait. It was fake water. Oops. This is chariot. I mean, once you're good at reading, once you're really good at like reading the mechanics as they come out, in general, it should be like The mechanic is actually not that bad. It's just like getting used to reading the mechanic, which I have a lot of practice with because that is pretty much what I was doing every time we got there. But yeah, I definitely think, I mean, how many macros is this? How many buttons do I have to click for this? So this one is actually one macro. You just hit stillness or motion. And you just need to know that your debuff is like, your bomb is falling off. I think that's all you need to know. The spread one, again, I think you just need a macro for stack or spread because you only get one of them. You never get two, so you don't actually care. If you want to help the party... Oh, my bad. I'm cooked. I just woke up. I mean, nothing really happened. All good. Let's see. So you only need stillness motion for yourself. This is probably echo macro. This is a say echo. Should just put like slash echo. Or slash echo this. If you want to help the party, you can do this as a party macro, but then you need short and long, which means you have twice as many macros for this. Alternatively, if you think the party's fine, you can just run an echo macro and trust everybody else is doing it, or like trust someone else to like hit a party macro. But like party macro is like not necessary. I feel like it can help. It's just like someone has to pick between 4 different macros, and like you don't actually care too much about if it's short or long because you have either stack or spread, and it'll go off either early or either late, and you just have to like, I mean, you kind of just have to like know. Let's see. I mean, you don't need to write the water, whether you're water or lightning, right? You only need to know like when you get the debuff, are you spread or stack? You don't actually care about which debuff you are. I mean, if it helps you remember, yeah, I mean, you can probably do it. But right, you don't actually care that you're water or you're lightning, because if you're fake water, you're just spread, and if you're real lightning, you're just spread. If you're real water, you're stack, and if you're fake lightning, you're just stack anyway. So you don't actually care about the debuff itself. You only care about the time it goes off. Because like, I mean, if I were doing the fight and I saw once I got water or once I got lightning, I'd have to remember if it's fake or true, and then I just hit spread or stack, and then whenever it's about to resolve, so like this anti-light goes off, and you have what 18 seconds to say, oh, my chat says spread. I'm going to go to the spread spot as a support or as a DPS, right? But I mean, you can also, yeah, you can do it for the party, but again, it probably takes like, for the party, you'd have to do short water spread, or you need 4 macros for sure. You need twice as many macros, which is fine. The thing is, like, when you add more macros, you introduce more layers of error, right? If you hit the wrong one, it might get cooked, right? Especially if you're sending to party, right? You have to be really sure that what you're sending to party is correct. Otherwise, it really will just start getting cooked really, really quickly. The gaze should always be party macroed to look at or look away. I mean, you could also do what real/fake gaze. Maybe that's easier for people to see. You can click based on the water lightning timer. Yeah, but like so. Yeah, but so that's the other, like, you can. The problem is like you need to like, so people are you already have to like spend a lot of time remembering things, right? Is this the first one? No, here, right? So he sends this off, and you have to wait how many seconds? So you get your debuffs, you realize it's fake, and so you remember that what lightning is fake or lightning is spread. You need to wait. Uh, yeah. So you have long here. You have to wait until this next one comes out, right? Or rather, oh, you don't have to wait until the next one comes out. Let me see. You need to wait until so it goes off. Yeah, it's like 22, and you wait 5 seconds, and you can click the other one. I mean, I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine, but like seeing in chat something that says like, right, if you slash party like water spread, lightning spread, it's probably like really easy to like miss that one of these is in there. Like even if you can't even like space it out properly anymore. You're just reading it chronologically, and like you're just trusting people to have like a chat box properly set up, and it's sort of I would say it's prone to error. I would say it's prone to error compared to seeing something like seeing something like this. I mean, it's not, well, yeah, you would see something like this and you would have the arrows out. Because you can't, right? There's like no distinguisher for here if you just press it in chronological order, or like what would be the chronological order. Whereas even though you hit it at the incorrect time for the chronological order, you still have a text marker that says, hey, look at the 4 arrows pointing. And I mean, you don't even need the long here as well. You don't need a short here as well, right? It's like implicit in the message. So like, it's just like a difference of clarity. And the problem with this is you need 4 macros, right? You need all 4 of them to like properly tell the party, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. It's just, yeah, again, you have 4 macros to hit, and you just have to remember which one is which. Otherwise, you might run into some trouble. I mean, you probably just put like your you probably put your, where is it? You probably put like your echo macros like this on a bar, and then you have a short one, a long one, or a short one, 2 short ones, and two long ones for your party below it. So like you hit your echo ones, and then it should be pretty easy to like remember which one's short and which one's long. But again, you know, if you want the echo macro on top of the party macros, we're already going to what? We already have 6 macros just for one thing. Now, you don't need the echo one if you hit the party ones, but I still think on your bar, I don't know what the M icons that people would use, but for me, I would probably like find something that reminds me it's water, find something that reminds me it's lightning, like maybe something that shows stack or something that shows spread, and then some kind of M icon on the left that says short, and some M icon on the right that on the bottom that says like long. You know, just like setting yourself up for success, because like, yeah. This way you like probably won't make an error during execution, but again, it is still a lot of macros, and we still have a lot more macros to pull out. Because we already have stillness and motion macro, which is 2 macros on top of itself. And again, when you echo it, you don't really care when it is, because the game implicitly tells you when it is, as long as you remember what it is, right? You can answering these like what, who, what, why questions and stuff. Yeah. So that should probably work out fine. I think I saw a few teams like trying to explore and find nice M icons for people, like the headwinds, tailwinds, even motion and stillness. I think Momo picked out 2 different M icons. One of them had like the leg, one of them is like standing still, straight up. One of them is standing and they're like getting ready to walk around. Protein water and revenge blast. So you can have a powder macro for gaze. You just have to make sure it's hit correctly, which is fine. So we have We have 2 gaze macros. And I mean, so again, missionary impact shot. I mean, yeah, it kind of did. I think the whole world saw it and was like, this is probably the way we want to remember it. Literally the whole world. I think almost every static probably had that conversation in one way or one form. If not on stream, if not off stream. So one problem here with the cases is you sort of also want to make this grid like the stack and spread, because again you run into the same issue here with like clarity, because you can press them in chronological order. The first one is always short, right? The first one is always short. So it's acceptable to just put it in chronological order like this, but again, I think you lose the ability to like denote, oh, it's going like to help the rater denote and see in real time that, oh, it's going to be later or it's going to be shorter. So I think I would still recommend, even though this is a party macro, to do the same thing as here and just have, right, a set of, I mean, you can echo these again, but there's no reason to. So probably just these 4, and then you might use these 2 to like denote, oh, this one's look at or real, this one's look away or fake. So there's a number of ways you can do it. So that's a gaze. The Chariot and Dynamo, I think, is pretty free. We have a party macro for honestly, you only need to type I guess for clarity you should not like use the fire and water debuffs, even though they're static. I mean, you can, right? For example, you could use fake fire and 6 of them, fake water, but and you'd only need these 2 macros, because you don't need to say real, because like if it's real, it's real. And if you don't associate the fire with the chariot yet, you probably need a little homework to do, right? Yeah, Dino first, chariot second, for example. I do agree. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Even though, again, it increases your macro load. Because you need what? You need another 4. I think the theme here is that you need like 4 for everything. And now these are implicit for like short or long, I guess. But yeah. So I guess like these are sort of like not necessary, right? It's just sort of like, you can have them for fun or just to help your like little macro board. The only problem I'm seeing here already is I don't know how you would fit this all into one, like, what is that, command panel that we've been using? I'm kind of not been playing the game a lot, so I don't really know the name of these things properly. But there's kind of a lot of things here already for like, I think one command panel, right? I think they're like 5x5, is it? So it might be a little bit troublesome. And you don't need to put short here, right? Because it's already implicit. And then we have this again. And if we were to put these tabbed out properly, it would look like this. Or rather, so you don't need for these, right? You can just read your debuff timer. I mean, maybe it helps people to have them tabbed out properly. But yeah, it's probably more helpful than not to have these tabbed out and to just have, again, 4 for each. So yeah, I mean 6 steps. I mean, so the thing is like, yeah, it's kind of hard to fit. Let me check something. So Kenna is long water. I've not looked too much at the sampling here. Whether or not your bomb is, yeah, your bomb can be the same length as your thing. So so you'll just sometimes like not have just sometimes won't have this. Like this will just be missing from your echo macros when you hit them, right, in your chat box. They just like won't be here, which is fine. Command panel is 5x5. Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly know like the best way to set up the command panel. Likely you probably like don't do the party gaze and you just do it for yourself maybe. And if you do it for yourself, you only need to, well, why do we have 4 here again? Oh, for the long and short. It's just like a little tough. What's the idea? Because at a very naive baseline, we have already, I mean, 1, 2, what is this? 8 times 2, 16 macros. I mean, you can go up to 24, but the problem is you go to 24 is like, then your command panel becomes impossible to read. It's just like not possible because it's just uneven and stuff. Yeah, so like you can cut all this fat down, right? Let's see. Right, you can cut all of this fat down because you don't really need this. I think, yeah, you don't really need this as long as you read your debuff timer properly, but it does leave the issue of like clarity in your chat. It's gonna come out like this. There's gonna be no arrows on it, and you're gonna have like no real like reminder that your timer, like, you just have to look at your debuff bar before stack and spread and realize, like, oh, my bomb is going off, which is fine. I think it's fine. Some people will be able to do it. The problem is, like, I'm worried about the people who can't, right? Because, like, I mean, that's all about. That's what right, doing these fights is about, right? Figuring out as a team how to make sure, like, everyone does the mechanic properly with reminders, with everything you can do to help them, right? Because, like, yeah. Mm. So what is the? I figure with these two, you just have two macros. You're hitting one or the other, right? Um, what are we suggesting here for these that have more than two options? We're just saying, like, oh, you're just saying, oh, so we're doing the thing like that, compressing a file, that what you do when you, like, compress files, right? You take words that are associated with, you take similar words associated with, like, different things, and you pull them out and you have them, um, compressed together, and then you replace it with, like, a key holder. Um, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Again, I think we run into, like, this clarity thing again, right? Because, like, I'm actually a really big fan of, like, using, like, X number of arrows to, like, indicate, oh, this is gonna be the fourth thing that's gonna happen. But I mean, this is probably also acceptable if your command panel is, like, absolutely cooked. I think with this, you remove all of these. I guess these are like implicit, but, like, you can put a long and a short just for clarity. But in general, yeah, you don't need it, right? Because the short one will always come first in chat. But I mean, it sounds like we do this, we basically remove all of this, and you just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 macros. You have 10 macros, but you lose, right? You lose these arrows here that help you denote, like, where you are in the timeline, which is, it's it's okay. I think it's acceptable if you learn it this way, but yeah, I think I would still recommend people do probably try out, like, this setup, where you don't really. I mean, you can denote. You just have to, like, be very careful. I mean, technically, only one person needs the party ones, right? So, like, as an individual player, you only need these on the left. Which is fine. And these would go to the party. and one person's command panel would just be like absolutely cooked. I mean, you can split it up, right? One person can have all of these, and another person can have this one and the individual stuff. Hey there. Yeah. It's probably the best way is everybody has their individual macros. Probably set something up, something like this on their command panel. It'll look a little. It takes up already half the space, really. I mean, you can probably figure out what you want to cut out and stuff, but like you probably can just cut these ones out. And you can probably cut these out as well once you're like implicitly understand like what your macro, like this is short and this is long, and you implicitly understand like, oh, this is my. I mean, they'll be M iconed right properly. So like at the end of the day, if you properly M icon, this is probably all you need individually. Please call your statics P4. I am on break. I'm on break. I'm probably not even gonna call DNs P4. Maybe like the first few times, or like maybe for the 9 clears, I can help them out. But yeah. I mean, yeah, they have my little tool, so it shouldn't be that bad for them. Thank you. Yeah. So if you're individually only have this many, because you don't really need these, because like this is M icon to be like, yeah, something, and this is M icon to be the stack, and you're like implicitly remember this is short, and this is long, then it's sort of gonna be fine, right? You'll have like a motion icon here and a standstill motion standstill icon here. Actually, I can pull up. Let me see if I can pull up Momo's. I don't actually remember where he put them. It might take a long time to find. I can't. I don't think I can. I mean, we can probably just open up. What is it? M icon dictionary. Is this what I want? No. Or no? Oh, these macro icons. But you can M icon emotes, right? Where's the dictionary? Cooked. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where to find the icon dictionary. Unlucky. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But, yeah, you can use more parameters. That's always right. But yeah, you basically have like these two will look the same. 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 And you just remember this is short. This is long. And that's what you need as an individual. And then, I mean, if it looks like that, you have a lot of space to actually just like put these in here, right? And all of a sudden, we sort of have sufficient, I would say. We pretty much have a sufficient command panel. And you can actually like, you can put yourself a reminder as well for the short and long, because we just need this many macros, right? And we've actually filled up, I think we have one extra row up here that you can use. I don't know what for, probably not really useful. But this is probably going to work out pretty well for your command panel. As long as you use like proper M icons, that will help you as an individual remember what they are. So I mean, this is probably what you would do if you don't have someone outside the raid like helping you out call. So yeah, I mean, this will probably work out pretty fine. And it would all come out. It would all come out like this. I'm pretty sure. Now the thing is, like, if you do have someone, so I think I was talking about it at the end of yesterday. If you do have someone to help you that's outside the raid, I guess you could use like the all motion here or like the all stillness here, since you have room on your command panel. That would be pretty nice as a party macro. It would put out like what? It would put out both this one and this one. But yeah. So I think we were looking at like how to do it for someone outside the instance, or in general, like, you know, how people did idyllic. You'd have like a module up, right? And you click a bunch of things and it tells you do this. Right. You can write one for yourself. For example, right? Yeah, you can write one for yourself and just like Google Sheets, etc. And it should be sufficient to help you get through the mechanic. Because you really only need to click I think you only really need to click 6 buttons, is it? Because you only click if it's you click if GC1 is fake, you click if chaos is fake, you click if chaos is fire or water, right? Inferno or tsunami. You click if GC2 is fake, and then you click this one if it's fake. Oh, and you need to check if GC1 has long stack spread or short stack spread. So that's 6 buttons, 6 binary inputs that you need to put, and you're pretty much on your way to having a script for the entire P4. The only thing that might be difficult during it is, right, this thunder. It can be real or fake, and you need to remember this. Similar for this blizzard, you need to remember if this was real or fake. Now, that being said, it is always thunder first, and it is always blizzard second. So if you have like a good memory, you can probably just like implicitly remember, oh, it was fake, real. So, and then you add it onto the end. So like, if it was real at the end, and you saw like your fake, you remember, oh, fake and real is probably double fake, standard both. So you can do that. You can also just like have this into the your little spreadsheet if you use one, and into your like your WTF dig module. But if you're not using any external tools and you're just using in-game macros and stuff, you will probably need to. You will probably need a. I guess yeah, we probably need another macro that says. You probably need another macro, so 7 arrows in. That just says fake or real. And then no one else should be hitting any like macros or chat things. So you'll just have both of these above and below each other. And in terms of doing mana release, that's actually the correct order that you want to read them in, because if you've noticed from like P1, the ring is always fire, thunder, blizzard. So whatever's topping your chat will always go with the thunder, and whatever's bottom in the chat will always go with the blizzard. And you reduce the need to have right, to have a 4x4 set up for this macro. That being said, having the 4x4 is more clear. But again, we're kind of running out of space, right? We're kind of tight on space on our command panel. I don't know how hard it is to flip between command panels. I imagine it is not something you want to do while you're doing P4. So, that being said, you can have one command panel for the start, and then once it's done, you just go to the other panel, and you can have a 4x4 for the real fake thunders and stuff. So that could be an option. Unfortunately, you can't like have the game do like the math for you. If it's like if the combinations make you like real Blizzard or fake Blizzard, you have to like do it yourself through chat and be like looking like, oh, fake is real, or like fake real is fake. But yeah. Someone was saying that final lights and lightning can be double negative. I mean, we can double check. We can take a look real quick if we had a double here. So fake thunder, and I think this is fake blizzard. Yeah, I see the circle. Fake blizzard. So these are both fake, and I think here, yeah. So we have fake thunder again. So we went fake, and well, this isn't really fake yet. He showed us fake true, right? So essentially what we got is this. We saw we saw fake here, we saw fake here. So these first two are fake. And then we saw fake thunder, fake blizzard. Right, fake thunder, fake blizzard. So what this means is, so I think the way I explained it is that, so so he's telling you he's going to do fake thunder and he's going to do real blizzard, right? So we'll put it this way, yeah. Right, so he's saying fake thunder and real blizzard. Now, with the mana release, essentially what we're saying is that he's going to do a fake thunder and a fake real blizzard, right? So the way to think about it is like, if I'm doing a fake thunder and I tell you I'm not actually doing a fake thunder, what am I actually doing? Let me actually see like what I said exactly to my friend. I posed the question, if the fake thunder is fake, isn't the real thunder real? I don't know if this sentence actually makes any sense. This is what I said to him, and it made it, and they got it. But yeah, essentially, the fake thunder here is fake. I mean, it's probably more clear if I do it like this, right? Or that the fake blizzard, the fake real blizzard, is fake, right? So that's probably the way to think about it. Yeah, it's sort of like, it's not really thinking about like, you don't really in execution, you sort of don't think about it like this, right? You sort of think about it like executionally, like mathematically, you would think about it like, say fake is a 1, so 1 plus 1 equals 2, and you run a module 2, so it's 0 mod 2. right? If you think about it modular math, you can also think about it in like binary bits, where like you do 1 XOR 1 is 0, right? I mean, there's a number of ways to think about it, but I think I mean, I think it's going to come down to like what kind of person you are. Yeah, it's going to come down to like what kind of person you are and like what kind of, operations you're used to working with. Yeah, this is one way to think about it mathematically. If you come from like a computer science background or like a computer engineering, anything like tech related background versus like a math background. If you're like a linguistics, you're more involved in like linguistics or like language. You probably think about it like this, right? He's doing a fake thunder. What is the fake of a fake thunder? It's just it's the reverse, right? I guess like visually, right? If I do a fake blizzard, what is the fake version of the fake blizzard? So fake blizzard means that you're actually going to hit like this, right? Right. So this is the fake blizzard resolution. This is what it looks like. This is the resolution. And what is the fake version of the fake blizzard? The fake version of the fake blizzard is the fake of this, which is just a return to like what he's showing you, right? So the fake is just real, right? Yeah, I mean, said a lot of words. But that is how I think I would answer that question. Yeah, it's a store. He casts mana charge here. So he casts mana charge right here. And he doesn't mana release until here. And the way mana charge works in the Savage version, he would store all the fakes and all the reals, and he would store as many of them as he would do. And when he mana released, he would telegraph something, right? In this case, he telegraphs some lightning and some blizzard, and he's going to release all of the fakes related to them down here. But yeah, I think that's pretty sufficient for P4. Right. Sort of get like a nice debuff breakdown of like how things go. And then, we went through the mechanic and we came out with like some nice acro macro suggestions. But yeah, this is probably what I try to recommend people for this phase, or write your own like little WTF dig module, right? If you write something like this for yourself, then it probably comes out pretty nicely, pretty easily. But I don't expect everyone to know how to write something like this. I mean, it doesn't mean fancy like this, right? You can do it in Google Sheets. You can do it in as long as you have like some kind of basic coding language with like some kind of quick button press input, you should be able to do it while you're like playing the game, while you're raiding. So the only thing left to talk about is how low does this guy need to be? And it's this number. If you get to 25%, you're good. You're done. You can start building gauge. That's as far as you need to push him. You need him to be 25% like now, immediately after this mechanic resolves, because he will go untargetable here if he's above 25%. So your enrage is like right now, but he will give you like 8 seconds of hammering time just for you to build gauge. He's kind of nice about it, and then he does a raid wide. So I don't remember if this is lethal or not. No, it's not lethal. So yeah. I think at this point, since we're right before going to P5, I'm gonna give people like a chance to like not come and look at P5 if they're you know, they don't want to be spoiled and stuff. Oh. I don't know where to put this. Yeah. Let me pull something up that will. So we will talk about something. I'm not just gonna sit here and wait for people to leave. But let's see. Where is it? Just give me a second. Okay, so I've pulled up the timeline and we can probably talk a little about this before I start going to P5. So this fight is actually, according to Apollo, this fight is actually like pretty interesting regarding like buffs and stuff. They actually made a really nice fight regarding your 2-minute buffs. You can actually do a lot of different things you can do regarding your buffs, your pots, your LB. I'm no expert on damage in this fight or in the game really. It's like something I like have never really like had passion for, because like when you mess up your rotation, it's like pretty minimal damage loss. But if we look at this, you can send your. So I think the first thing to look at is probably the enrages of different phases, and probably the most important thing to look at. The best way to do it is you look at now. You probably want to look at the phase you want to make sure you kill on. So that would end up being the P5. Yeah, that would be the P5. I think I can just grab the number for the P5 enrage. I don't think that really spoils anyone too much. So the P5 enrage is roughly this number in relation to our timeline. So you probably want to look at this number and start looking backwards and seeing where you want to put your buffs, where you want to put your pots, where you want to put your LB3s. Now, granted, we are sending, the recommendation right now is we are sending an LB3 here. That we're sending an LB3 here during Wind Orbs for the tank LB cheese strat. So there is that restriction. If you don't, you have a lot more like options that you can do. And we can look at those options without the LB3 in a second, but for now we can look at with the LB3. So regarding LB3, if you send an LB3 here at the start, or roughly at the start of P3, well, not the start, I guess, at the end of vowels, if you send one here, you probably cannot send one earlier. You might be able to get away with an LB1 in P1, but the P1 check is like, if you've been watching the streams, like this boss is like giga dead, even with like 3 deaths. So you generally don't need to send an LB1 here unless it's like extremely dire. But if it is extremely dire here, you probably do need to send one here. So I mean, it's definitely going to be a hard judgment call. If you want to try and recover pulls and stuff when things go wrong. So if you LB3 here, you will almost certainly get LB3 back by the end of P3. In fact, you will get it back probably around here by the 10th Void Laser. We send our LB3 here at a boss's targetable. And I mean, we can check the VOD and see when we get LB3 back. Yeah, so we get it back here at the end of P3. Exactly where I said I thought it would be. We get our LB3 back down here, and I'll just write that down here. And we LB3 up here. So I would expect to get your LB3 back by the end of P4, somewhere in P4. Maybe it comes back here. I'm not really sure where it's going to come back up. But you're almost guaranteed to have an LB3 during P4. So for us, I don't think we stopped sending the second LB3, I think, on P3. We get LB3 here, but we actually send it, I think, up here. Don't have a like good idea of how to color this, but yeah, I'll just leave it like that because I know what I'm looking at. But yes, regarding LB3, I think there's only like 2 spots you will get an LB3 in before P5, and it's not really a big deal which one. You'll just always have an LB3, I think, and I think you'll get another one before the end of the fight. So that's probably it regarding LB3. And you can send this LB3 if you get it while doing this try. You can send it in P3 at the end of P3. It's probably fine. But I expect this phase to be a little tougher for most groups because it is like it is a 2 minutes and 4 second 2 minute 4 second phase. Because this is the true enrage, right? Down here, this is the true enrage. You get 8 seconds of fun. 8 seconds of building gauge. So regarding buffs, there's like a few ways you can do it. I think I'll first talk about the way we did it. The way we did it was Apollo saw that this phase is a 204, I think. And when you see 204, you think, oh, you only get 1 2 minute, right? Which is pretty much a true statement, or you get 4 seconds of it at the end. But important to note is that this boss targetable is very short from the untargetable. I don't actually know the exact distance. I think it's like 2 seconds or so, 3 seconds or so. And what the point I'm trying to make is like, you see they rip their 2s here. The boss is gone. So let's see. They kill the boss. And we're at 9 seconds. And Kafka is targetable again at about 5 seconds after. So you will lose a bit of time on your buffs. But the important thing, I think the important thing here is like, even though you like lose some buff time here, you still have like the tail end here, and you can hit the boss. You can send it again at the end here, and this is actually probably the most damage you can do regarding P4. If you really, really, really want to kill P4, this is probably the best way to do it. And you send an LB3. Yeah, because like otherwise you just get 1 2-minute here and a life. This way you get like a little bit more than just 1 2-minute. I think there is a moment here where they drop their firewall. I don't see it noted. Oh, it's through all of Bowels of Agony. They put the firewall up for 40 seconds and then say, yeah, all good. Now you can cleave us. So I think there is a nice burst window somewhere here that you can do. I mean, if we send here, roughly. So we're like 9 minutes and then like 7 minutes somewhere. You get a few seconds of cleave up here, but I think really what matters is like the 1 minute cleave down here. This will be over here-ish. But you can also, actually 2 minutes back from here-ish is roughly 9:53. We go to 7:53-ish. I mean, I think it's tough. You definitely want to send like 2 sets of 2s. I think you send like the minute here, and then you send a 2 here somewhere, and then you send another 2, or a minute and a 2, and a minute and a 2. I'm not really super sure. I know if you really want to kill P2, if you're progging P3 and you really want to kill P2, you notice the boss is untargetable at 6:23. This is a very, very simple decision to make here. All you do is you send your buffs at 0 seconds, literally 0 seconds, right? Before the first GCD, you just send your buffs. And you'll have it back here. And it's a very nice window of hitting. Nothing's really happening. Maybe the tanks like don't like it, but I mean, they're not very nice about these tank busters at all, right? There's one here in the opener. There's one here at the 1 minute. There's one here at the 2 minute. So they're not very nice about tank busters to the tanks. But you send this here. You send some 1s here. I think is fine. And then next time is you run a 2 minute here during first towers and the second towers. This might be a little tough for people to do at the start. So once you're used to it, I think it's fine to send it like this. But if you're not used to doing Forsaken yet, it's probably not a great idea to send your buffs here. And you just like, the boss is probably not going to die if you're not used to Forsaken. So it's not a big deal. If you want to practice with your buffs, right, it's perfectly acceptable. But in general, you probably want to learn the mechanics first because you should know how to do your rotation. It should be like rote memory to you. Yeah, that you get your minutes here, and then you get one more big burst at the end here, and you hit your pot somewhere. You hit your pot probably like right before the trying cast or on the trying cast, and then you get your whole pot for this entire window. So you can pot start, you can pot here. You can pot start, you can pot here. If you pot here, so you can also decide to not pot here. If you don't pot here, you can pot like, so I think what they ended up doing was they potted like at the 8 minute here. They potted here, and then it would come back up for P4. But I think if you do it at the end, it's a little bit too late for this enrage timer. So you probably want to pot up here. And yeah, I think the timing works out. It's what, 4 minutes and a half? It's roughly fine to pot here. Yeah, it's probably fine to pot here like this. This is one way to do their pots. You can also just send your pot like during this section here. Or you can pot instantly here, and you'll have another pot here if you really want to kill P3 and you want to prog P4, right? I think there's a lot of decisions you can make regarding like which phase you really, really want to kill. And that's something that's going to help you prog a little bit faster, because you won't get like, so for example, if you want to prog P2 and in P1 you're having trouble, I mean, there's not really much you can do about this one, but if you're progging P2, or you want to prog P3 and you're trying to kill P2, right, you definitely send the pot here. You definitely do 2 minutes at the 0 second mark so that you have all of your damage before the boss is untargetable here. And that will give you the most chance to get to P3. P3, if you really want to kill P3, you probably definitely want to pot at the start, pot at the end. You want to rip a melee LB3 here, and then use this LB3 here, probably on the end at one of the bosses. Regarding this, you do get extra time when you kill one. I think I talked about it yesterday, but you want to kill one of the bosses first. And the thing is, you will probably have both your melee on Chaos, because his hitbox is just like way bigger than Xdeath, and Xdeath has like the tank buster, the close proc tank buster. So Chaos will generally be lower HP here. So you just have the melee send an LB3 on Chaos, and you know, pot LB3, pot LB3, and this should be the most damage you can eke out in P3. If you want to do P4, you definitely like pot here, carry an LB3 over, roll your buffs, and then send your buffs again at the end. And that should be the best way to get you into P5. Yeah. I mean, you can look at how we did stuff. It's in the VOD. You can see where we send our buffs, where we send our pots, where we send our LB3s. So that's all there. Yeah. So I think we can start talking about P5 now. I don't know how many people didn't want to get spoiled, but probably going to start talking about P5. So P5. Mechanically, it's probably the least, I guess like you could argue like UCOB Final Phase Golden Bahamut is like not super like intense, but holding 2s for the start of P5, this is actually a good question. So I think I'll get another number out that will help answer this question. The boss is targetable at 1503. Now, if you do the math, how many 2 minutes can you get in this window? This is about 344. Since it's a 344 phase, you can only get 2 sets of buff windows. And when you can only get, when it's such an awkward number like this, where you like say if it's 420, say if the boss is 420, if the phase is 420, or like if the phase is 620 up to P2, right? It makes perfect sense to send at 0, send at 2, send at send her at 4. I mean, if you add 5 seconds, you probably send after like 2 or 3 GCDs, right? But instead, the phase is 344. Because the phase is 344, you're no longer like bound to sending your 2 minutes at the start of P3 or P5. You're like, it is acceptable to not. I think something that lots of teams like probably do wrong regarding buffs is like, we must send at the start of this phase. We must send at the start of phase, right? You don't have to, right? You can send at 1. You can send at the, so it depends on like when you just use your 1s, and like, so there's a 30-second downtime here. So your 1s will probably come up at like the 30 mark or so, which means your 2s will come up at the 130 mark. Your 1s will come back up at here, and your 2s will come up back here. I think these numbers are a little rough. Let me think. You sent your 2s and 1s roughly, I mean, when did they send them? Let's take a look. They sent their 2s here before mana releases started casting. Pretty much when this stuff releases, or at 1414, I think is probably the correct way. So they send at 1414. When you send at 1414, it means we're coming out at what? Now we're coming out at 14s, roughly. If you have it on cooldown perfectly, right? So, and this is your, I'll mark it in a different color. This is your 2 minute, and this is your 2 minute. If you do it like this. If you do it the way we did, it comes out like this. Now, you can save your 2 minutes. The way to do it is you send it at the start of P4 instead of sending it at the end of P3, which is fine, which is acceptable. And it'll come back up by the end of this phase, which means you will have it at the start of P5. If you have it at the start of P5, you can basically send like a standard 05, 07 buff window. And you will have to do the mechanics. I guess I should keep this up. And you'll end up doing either sending at the 2 minute, right? Or you can hold off and send at the 3 minute. Right? You have a lot of options. You sort of get used to doing these things when you like actually try to do speed runs of fights. And when I say speed runs, I don't mean parsing, right? I literally mean like killing the boss as fast as possible, because there's quite a big distinction between parsing and doing speed runs, right? Because when you're parsing, like, you probably want to aim for a kill time, and typically you aim for like a standard 2 minute kill time. A kill time that's like aligned with the 2 minutes. So like 230, 225, 320, or 225, 425, and that requires you to like sandbag some people to just like not hit the boss, just so other people can get a better parse. But with speeds, right, you don't have that luxury. You're gonna do some amount of damage, and sometimes the boss is gonna die at like 305 right before your ones, which is fine, right? You just have to re-optimize around it. And like, it means that if you send at the start, you probably don't even send at the start, right? If you were going to do this like speeds, right, you don't even want to send your 2s at the start. It doesn't really help you at all, because like, you don't have any gauge build, you don't have any, you don't have any resources to send. Your bard won't have it'll have a really weak radiant finale if you're playing bard, right? So you typically end up doing this in like a speed setting. Now, this is a little different from like fresh pulling a savage, or like pulling a savage from the start of the fight, right? Because you have no gauge in savage at the start of the fight. But since we're doing a carryover, into P5, you probably have gauge, you probably have resources built. Your bard probably has radiant finale stacked up to the max, right? So sending at the 0 is perfectly acceptable if you want to kill this final phase as fast as possible. But yeah, I mean, the crux, I sort of went on a tangent, but like, you can't even gain a 1. Yeah, you can't even gain a 1, right? So like, returning to the crux of the question, did you guys consider holding 2s? The short answer is yes. We didn't know the enrage was going to be, we didn't know the phase was going to be a 344, right? So we thought about it, but it's not something you can like action on until you actually see the enrage. And when we did see the enrage, it ended up being 344. So like, it's perfectly fine to do what we did, right? This is perfectly fine. The only thing you have to be careful about is, are you bursting during like a mechanic? Are you bursting during like a heavy mental load mechanic? You don't want to do that. It's like, it's probably a really bad idea to burst during a mechanic, especially when, you're very stressed, you're very tensioned, you're very tense, because you've just been in this fight for 15 minutes. If you burst during a mechanic and you mess up the mechanic because you're thinking about your burst, you're just throwing away 15 minutes of like, you're just throwing away a pull. You're throwing away 15 minutes, right? And it's not just like you threw away 15 minutes of your life. You've like cost the rest of the team, right? 15 minutes of them each as well. So like something I usually talk about a lot is like man minutes. So like there's 8 of you, so 15 times 8 is 80, 120. You've effectively wasted like 120 minutes, right? Just because somebody bursted during mechanics and they just like couldn't focus on doing the mechanic, right? So this is something like this is like a real consideration regarding burst. Like bursting during mechanics is, people will argue like you should be able to do it. You'll probably practice doing it if you do speeds and stuff, but in general, you don't want to do it. It's not something you want to do, right? Like you don't want to burst anywhere in the middle of P4 because like if you burst during stack spreads and you fail the stack spread, if you fail your bomb, it's GG. But if you burst at the start, you step into the mystery magic, you're bursting, someone's calling the mystery magics, right? I mean, the timing is actually like really far, right? So boss is targetable here. Your buffs are over by 1240-ish, right? And the only thing that's happened is a mystery magic. And somebody is like calling it for you, right? So it's like, it's acceptable to burst here. Only one thing really happens. If you burst at like this flood of knot, roughly before this flood of knot, you need to do the anti-light, you need to do stack spread, you need to do bomb, you need to do a mana release that requires you to remember what it was, and you still need to do the gaze. So like you need to do all of a sudden 4 different mechanics in your burst compared to doing 1. And this one is follow the party. By the way, this is follow the party. All of these are, what did I have? Like 4 times. What did I have? And what do I need to do? Right. So like you don't really want to burst during here. And bursting at the end is also acceptable because again, only one thing is happening. You're doing the mana release and you can follow the party. As long as you also need to do the Cherry Dynamo. So like it's a little harder down here, but it's not that much harder. So like realistically for P5, the only thing we considered was, will we miss a use of 2? Does it align with our current buff plan? And are we bursting during a mechanic? And the way we did it, we'll see in the VOD in a bit. I think we satisfy pretty much all of these conditions. But yeah, we can go into P5 now. So P5 is, I think in relation to the other final phases, I think it's not a great show. It's pretty simple, and I don't know, it's not very dense either. I think the devs probably really looked at the fight as a whole and said like, these first 4 phases are hell. These first 4 phases are actual hell. We gave them actual hell to walk through. And I think they just said, we actually have to give them a break. While still, keeping the nice puzzles of P5 that you get at the end of the ultimate. And again, these puzzles are like, they're not hard, they're not difficult, but you will wipe to them at least once. Usually, at least once you will wipe to them. Because, that's just how they design it. Because it's an ultimate, they want you to go back and show us that you can do the fight again, right? That's one reason why people love ultimates, right? Because it's a grind. It's a marathon that you just have to keep pushing your head against. So the first thing that happens here is he does a 4-hit raid wide. This actually does, I think, twice your HP if you combine all the hits together. So it's actually quite an interesting design. And it's something we've seen throughout the rest of this fight, right? This 4-hit gives the regen healer the ability to heal effectively, like, you don't need as much MIT because the regen healer can pop out a few heals and heal the party. I mean, the shielder can as well, right? So it's sort of an interesting raid-wide design that I've been like asking for a long time now, right? Giving the party persistent damage compared to just like one huge major hit, which at the end of the day just ends up being a mitigation check, right? So this sort of gives you like a few different ways to handle it. The next thing that happens are these autos. So these autos, there are 3 hits, or sorry, there's 3 different hits in an auto. One will target the main tank, one will target a random DPS, and one will target a random healer. So effectively, you just do 3 stacks. You do like a triad stack. Granted, these do hit like really hard on the tanks. I think if you've been watching the race, like sometimes the tanks just like die because they didn't use enough mitigation. I actually think just your short is probably not enough here. That being said, the healers should be able to have time to heal you. And so here's the first mechanic. It's called Flood, and essentially you just need to dodge all these lines while as a stack. So you only need to go the same way because there's a stack mechanic happening the entire time. He hits you 4 times for stack damage. And I ended up having to call this during our prog, so you can actually hear me call it. Bias middle, alpha, alpha, delta, charlie, alpha, delta, charlie. It's kind of quiet through the log, but yeah, it's kind of fast if you're like hitting the boss. But essentially, the way to do this is you look at these 2 open spots in the middle, and you keep your eye on them. You notice that A is open here, and you just like keep your eye on A, and you notice that the closest open next is delta. I mean, you already know when you see the second one that it's going to be A clock or A counter. You already know because the lines are going counterclockwise already at this point, but you don't need to know that. You don't have to look that early. You can look a little later up to here, and you sort of like your eyes get pushed in this direction if you look at the 2 open spots. I saw a few teams try to do a 3-to-1 dodge here. I don't recommend doing any 3-to-1 dodge. I think you must cross around the safe side, or at least like if you wanted your 3-to-1 dodge, you like do it in a line. Biased towards the safe side. So you take a bunch of stack damage here, and then we do maddening. Essentially what happens in maddening is the tanks both get hit with a spread buster, and they're applied debuffs. The main tank is given flare diffusion, and the off tank is given chaotic holy. Flare diffusion is a defamation, and chaotic holy is it's a stack. It's essentially a stack, but it does a lot of damage. Like it does over lethal damage to the cast. So I think what most people are doing, and what we did, was we decided to invuln this stack. And the reason we did that was, I mean, I guess the reason we did that is just because it does a lot of damage and we have invuln. So we can talk about the tanks real quick. The tanks get a spread buster, then they get a share buster, and then they get their defamation buster and the chaotic holy buster. Important to note is that when you get hit by this flare buster, this defamation, it doesn't give a damage down. Granted, even if it did give a damage down, I'm pretty sure all the tank has to do is run away. You just need to set it up in a way so that this tank can just run away from the defamation tank, which is probably fine. It might be a little tight on room if you do it like that, on top of being tight because there's autos right after here. But I think this tank is probably always going to take the autos right after demanding here, so it's not that big of a deal. As for the rest of the party, what happens here is 3 random people get hit by a holy, and you get a vul. So you cannot take the next holy. The way the next holy is baited is by closest. So if you get hit you need to step out, step away, and the rest of the people should try their best effort to step in. You don't really want to let the tanks get hit by this either. So you probably want to step in a little. Tanks must be like max melee. And you step in. After this, you got autos. And so for us, we opted for the tank to just invuln the Flare Buster, the Defamation Buster. And this allows you to roll your invuln to cover these next two autos. And you essentially save a little bit of MIT on both of the tanks. I saw some other groups, I think they opted to send their invuln on the Share Buster here, on this Share Buster, which is also acceptable. It just means that it won't last quite through all of these autos here, and you probably have to share the last one, or else he's gonna die, because it does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage, these autos. Next is gonna be Celestriad. So the thing with Celestriad is he's going to spawn 3 sets of towers, well, 9 towers, 3 of each element, and he's going to activate 4 of them. The way that everybody, I think, has been doing it, there's really one good way to do it. You check your debuff, and so Saya doesn't have the debuff, so it'll be a good VOD to look at what you do when you don't have the debuff. But for example, Ken, he has fire, so he cannot take a fire tower. That being said, the towers don't ever rotate. They always, once they've spawned, they're in this position. They will randomly spawn those, so take care regarding that. But once they spawn, fire will always be here by south, ice will always be 1B, and lightning will always be D4 right after they've spawned. They will spawn randomly, however. So if we look at Ken has fire, so he cannot take a fire tower. So the very easy strat to do here is Ken just goes clockwise of the fire. So he looks for where the fire towers are, whatever is matching his vuln, and he goes clockwise. What this allows him to do is he can then take a lightning tower, and then he can take an ice tower, and then after that, his fire vuln will have fallen off, and he can just take a fire tower. So he just goes clockwise and takes the next tower of the element over every time. And this is true for everybody with a vuln debuff. So you'll see Ken go to a lightning tower, and then he's looking here at the ice towers because that's where he's going next. And Ken will, so we're not looking at Saya right now, by the way. I have Saya's POV up. I mean, I should probably just pull up Ken's POV. Give me a sec. This is probably like this is not really a smart way to do it. Oh, the other thing is you really want your holy tank to have the boss here. Like you really, really want the holy tank to have a boss here because the defamation tank needs to go to the wall. If the defamation tank goes to the wall, Kefka can move. You can move Kefka during this phase. If you move Kefka, he does not recenter himself. This has great implications on this Celestriad. Like you will have a really, really bad time, and you'll find out in a second. So Ken looks, he notices he has fire debuff. Where is debuffs? Over here, he has fire debuff, and he looks at the fire towers. He goes clockwise. He takes a lightning tower, and so this is why the boss is doing an in or out during this mechanic. If the boss is up here by the A marker, whoever's trying to take the fire towers are just going to get blasted and get a damage down. It is like impossible to do these towers if the boss is up here. So it is of utmost importance that during maddening, you swap to the holy tank. I think I forgot to mention it. The holy tank is always the off tank. The main tank will always get defamation. So you always have to do a swap there. And preferably whoever has the invuln up is the off tank, so that you can invuln the Chaotic Holy. But so we select these towers. Ken has his camera facing the ice towers over here, and he's looking at which one he's taking next. So this one's active, so he's going to go into it. He's going to look at the fire towers next, and he's going to find the active one, and he's going to go, well, you should theoretically go straight to it. But yeah, it's okay to go around a little bit, but you can't like this is the furthest distance you will ever run. It's definitely best to just like go straight to the tower. That's how you do it if you have a Vuln. It's really easy. You find your tower. You find the same element tower. You go clockwise of it and take the tower of the clockwise element, and you just sort of like keep looking clockwise, but you want to run like straight to the tower that you want to take. As for the no debuff, since there's 4 towers active, you want to take a 2 tower, or there's going to be one set with double towers. As a no debuff, you just have to like go to one of these 2 towers, and you sort of just like decide, oh, let's have the people with the Vulns take the first clock, or like essentially like if you're looking out, the left tower. Or if you think about it like clockwise counter, the Vulns will always take the counterclockwise most tower, and the no debuff will take the clockwise most tower. So, I mean, there's different ways you can think about it. That's how we split it up. You can always do it the other way, but since we're doing a clockwise strat, it makes more sense for these guys to take the... Actually, it makes less sense for these guys to take the counterclockwise one, honestly. They should be taking this one, really, and then so they're closer to the ice towers next, but, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes you still have to do the long run, so it's not that big of a deal which tower you end up making these guys take. You just have to be a little careful. But yeah, so they're gonna take the right tower looking out, or the clockwise most tower of the double tower. So the thing is, the double towers don't always spawn clockwise from where you are. So this first set is especially is a little harder than the other sets, because you need to look, is there a double ice or is there a double fire? They recognize that there's a double fire here, so they're running straight to the fire tower. As you can see, Saya runs straight to it. So now, as a as a no debuff, you just took lightning. You're going to take fire. So now you know that the last double tower set is in ice. So all you have to do is look at ice and take the tower that you're supposed to take, the clockwise most one, and then also do in or out. It's not a very difficult mechanic. I think most of the mechanics in this phase are like EX level difficulty mechanics. We get the ultimate repeater into a few autos here. And we're gonna get the last like type of mechanic in this phase, the exaflares. So I think during the race, a lot of teams had some problems doing these exaflares. I'm not really sure what the issue is, but if you watch how Saya does these, it's actually quite a nice way to do it. You line yourself up with the first set of X's coming, and then you only strafe AD. You turn your camera so that you see the other one. You strafe. He lines up. He's in between these 2. He turns his camera, and he strafes AD. He strafes D here. So he's in between these 2, and he ignores them now. He turns back to the other side, and he strafes AD, so that he's not getting hit by that one. And then he turns his camera again, strafes AD, so he doesn't get hit by that one. And he turns his camera again, strafes AD, and turns the camera, strafes AD. And then you have to do a spread after. So like, I'm not really sure. I'd have to like review everybody's POVs regarding this mechanic, like if they got hit. But I imagine they were just like trying to YOLO eyeball how to dodge these, and they're like not moving in a precise manner, so to say. Obviously, as a melee, sometimes you have to run a little far to stay within the boss hitbox. That being said, you are allowed to move the boss here. It's not really critical that he stays in the middle. So if you pull the boss away a little bit, it's not that big of a deal, but it's only a little better. It's only better to like make sure he doesn't, for like damage reasons, because right after this is maddening. And if he's like pulled up towards the wall, you probably can't hit him during defamation. And the tanks will have like, I mean, yeah. So like I said earlier, Ken is going to hollow ground his chaotic holy. And the problem with this one is there's 3 autos here. So he can only invuln 2 of them, and the third one they must share. Which is fine. It's perfectly fine. And then we begin the enrage sequence. I actually saw a lot of people die to this enrage sequence during the race. Not necessarily from our team, but so the very first thing to say about this part is there is a lot of damage. You're going to take 8 instances of damage. The Forsaken cast, you'll take some stack damage here. And right after you take stack damage, he does an instant cast raid wide. He does an instant cast raid wide, and you have to take another stack right after. You take stack damage, you take an instant cast raid wide. Bang. So like, there's a lot of damage going out here. You must have a proper mid plan. Otherwise, like, a lot of teams just like exploded to the damage that you're getting here. The other thing is that was a very scary movement here. I think they're very scared to go into this small cubby, which is fine. That's just what they decided. They don't want to go in the cubby. But yeah, the other thing is like you must move as a group, and like because we're 18 minutes into the fight, you might panic and go the other way from the party. If you go the other way, they're pretty much dead. I think the damage is like way too much for them to recover from. But so breaking down this enrage sequence, so he does his Forsaken cast, and he's going to first pull rocks out and hit the center and an intercardinal. There's also this orange AoE, which is, I believe it's baited by the players. It'll always bait on an ordinal. It will not like bait underneath a player. It'll bait somewhere on the ordinal. And I think perfectly in line with the other rocks. And yeah, so you can see it sort of like baits perfectly on us, right? We're going to be on A here. It's going to bait perfectly on A, I think. Oh, so it baits actually over here. So I don't actually know what the ruling is. I suspect that you cannot bait it on this same spot where he's going to hit with the like the purple AoE. I suspect that that is probably the rule set here. Yeah, so this probably cannot bait here. And because they were closer to this one, it baits over here rather than over here on the left ordinal. So knowing this, you probably just always want to be on an intercardinal. This is probably something we're going to be on an intercardinal always. Yeah. Yeah. I think always intercard. Yeah, I think I recommend always intercard. You always want to be on the intercard. So here you should be on 2. If you're on 2, you just decide if you're walking left or right, and you're probably not walking left here if you're on 2. You walk to the right. In fact, they did it here. It was kind of scary, but yeah. And then yeah, we have our pots running. We're sending 2s here at the end of the fight when nothing's happening, right? So people can just full on blast the boss. So I think I didn't talk about it earlier, but our other set of 2s in this phase are right here at the end of these towers. You see we've hit the embolden, we've got the battle voice going, everything's running, and we send them to the end of the towers because all that's happening is a few raid wides and autos. It's not very great for the healers, but I think the healers are actually eating super ethers during this phase because there's just like so much damage coming out. So much damage coming out. So they don't even do a damage pot. But yeah. I think that's like pretty much it for this fight. I think a lot of the like important bits about this fight come from P3, and I imagine most timing for this is nice 2s wise. Yeah, it is. I mean, we can look at like what happens if you send them at the start of the fight. Usually So if you send them here, we're at like 37 on the timer, so we'll go up to 35. 35 is right after Exas during maddening. You probably don't want to send 2s during maddening because your melee is going to disengage. Your tanks are having a very critical. This is a very critical moment for tanks, right? You need to hit your mitt. You need to make sure you stand in the right place, and you need to make sure you do this tank swap during all these hits. So you don't really want to send the 2s during that maddening. And so while you send the 1s there, which again I still don't really recommend running the 1s there either. Actually, I think it lines up the same. You still have your 1s there, whether you do it the DN way or straight at 0. But you probably still want to hold your second set of 2 minutes for the enrage. Yeah. From a there's one more thing to say about sending when you send your 2s. It's not really always about mechanics either, right? So for example, we sent our 2s at we sent our 2s after Celestriad. What this means is if someone dies during Celestriad or someone gets a damage down during Celestriad, they're effectively no longer included in the burst, right? And they probably can't even hit their 2-minute button because they're dead, right? So it makes recovery a little harder because we chose to send our 2s here. That being said, even if someone dies here, even if someone gets a DD here, it's going to make the check a lot tighter, right? So it's not really that big a deal. It's just again, I think it's something we talked about yesterday, choosing whether or not you want to have a better recovery strat or if you want to have a easier run it down strat, right? When we're talking about bowels. And in this case, you cannot really recover. It is very hard to recover in this P5. There are ways to do it, but in general, it is not easy. There's a lot of damage. A lot of these mechanics will just outright kill you if someone else is dead. And yeah, so it's not really a big deal that we have it after Celestriad. The other thing is you burst here at the end of Enrage. This is also a point in the fight where you're very likely to lose someone. I think Grind, their Scholar the unnamed team, they actually had their Scholar walk into one of these circles, and something funny actually happens when you touch this. You get erased, your body's gone. You can't get raised, and you're just your character's gone from the fight. And so they actually didn't have their Scholar for their final burst. So there's no chain, there's no broils going on here. And right, so that's another tough point regarding sending your burst at the 1 and the 3. Because you're bursting here, and if anyone died during the enrage, you pretty much can't recover the damage. So, I mean, there's always these benefits and demerits to doing things certain ways, right? You could send them at 0 and 3. This is probably a very safe way to do it, because you're not sending during maddening, and you can't send it any earlier than you can't send it any earlier than maddening, and you want to sync with your minutes. So you probably just send this at the enrage. You probably just always have to send one at the enrage, because I mean you can do it during maddening, but there's really no reason to, because I mean, if you're really scared about dying during enrage, you can send it during maddening, but you're more likely to die during maddening in this case, and then you don't get to practice the enrage. So I mean, there's trade-offs, right? There's trade-offs. Sending after Celestriad and sending at enrage, right? If someone's dead, it's hard. It's going to be harder than if you didn't do this. But I mean, it sort of reminds me of the Brute Bomber, what is it? Brute Abominator was what they called it in M7. There's always a DD mechanic, and then you have to do your burst. And if you got hit by the DD, you basically could not meet the enrage because your burst is not as strong. And you lose a lot of damage. A lot of damage. But yeah, I think that is the fight. I think for people progging the fight, I highly recommend you can check the VOD, take a look at different stuff we talked about, different ways to do the mechanics. There's probably like ways that are really good, there are ways that are like really bad. But there's like stuff like this that is like not many people did. You sort of do the flexing based on how the boss lets you put these puddles. We talked a lot about this arrows. The arrows is like, this is going to be a lot of your wipe time, especially early. If you don't really understand the arrows well, you're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of time doing these arrows. I mean, we did as well. So I highly recommend you study up on like the nuances of how these fail, how you should place the arrows properly. And that will lead you to like very successful P1. That'll get you into P2. And once you do a very successful P2 strat, I believe we said like melee range. I think PF is doing pretty much the good way. I don't know if they're putting the conals like here or here. I mean, it's not really a big deal which way, but yeah. But yeah, if you have the arrows down, you have the Forsaken down, you're pretty much almost always going to get the P3. If you do the tank LB strat for BOA, you're pretty much almost always going to get to Earthquake. As long as you do your headwind correctly, your tailwind, and your healers make sure that you're healed properly. I did see this. Someone did mention that people are doing this as well. This is also perfectly acceptable. I mean, it's the same tank LB3 strat. You just have to be a little careful about your dynamos up here. And your spreads. I actually noticed, is this the water orb? Something, you probably have to have the healers run out and bait this. I don't know. I mean, I've not looked too much into the details of these things, but as long as you're doing some variation with tank LB strat, you will probably almost always get through Bowels of Agony. Black hole is probably going to be the part that a lot of teams will have trouble on. There's many ways we talked about how to do this. True North, Black Hole Relative, Clown Relative. Do it by marker. Do it by like head markers, auto markers. Do it by do it by this aggression debuff and rolls. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can do a conga prio as well. And there's really just like, again, we went over there's the how you take the tethers and who is taking the tethers, right? So there's two facets here that are very important for you as a team to like figure out and how you want to do it. Because like some teams will have a lot of success doing, some teams will have a lot of success doing it like this. Some teams will have a lot of success doing it as like True North, right? It's gonna just depend on like what kind of team you are, what kind of players you have around, and like this is something you sort of figure out by playing with each other. For the world races, we call that prep. You know, you're preparing each other. You're like figuring out who likes to do what, how they like to do it, and you know, also getting used to like doing the other way in case someone is like unable to do, like, for example, they can't do this Black Hole Relative and you have to do True North or else they're just gonna run it down, right? And then yeah, P4 is probably just, I think Black Hole in P4 is where most people are going to spend a lot of time on because it's deeper in the fight. Mechanically, you probably have a tougher time figuring out arrows and Forsaken and BOA, but in general, as long as you have a good arrow strat, a good understanding of arrows, you have a good understanding of Forsaken, you're doing tank LB3 BOA, you have a strong understanding of Black Hole, you can probably get to P4 almost every pull, even if you're a weaker team. But yeah, once you get here, it's really just like setting yourself up for success in terms of echo macros and stuff. And once you get to P5, it's just like going through the motions, being calm, and making sure no one panics. But yeah. I think that is just about everything I have to talk about DMU. I mean, people have questions, they're welcome to ask. If not, then probably ended around here. Oops, I did not mean to pin that. Well, I hope everybody has fun with the ultimate. I hope everyone enjoyed listen to me go on tangents and rant. And actually, there is one more thing. This P5 phase, it kind of is not cool. I think I forgot to mention this. It is kind of like not great. This is probably like one of the lackluster P5s we've had. Thematically, I think our best P5 is probably like top, right? You sort of have this war of dynamis between your party of Warrior of Lights and Alpha Omega, right? You're both like throwing dynamis back and forth at each other. And in this fight, it's sort of just like, I don't know, Kefka is just like not really doing anything super cool, right? So it's sort of a downer regarding that. And mechanically, like really like nothing really happens. Like it's sort of an okay P5. But it's not like, it definitely did not like wow me. It didn't really wow anyone else either, I think. Celestriad, I think, was fun to look at, but in general, like none of the mechanics in this P5 phase really like, yeah. I think the rest of the fight is like very, very, very cool. I mean, we can actually talk about the fight thematically real quick. Uses wind, earth, and water for the first time. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's sort of right. The first time we see Celestriad is in P5. We didn't even see it during Godka, where was the first time we saw Celestriad. But yeah, I think thematically, our P1 is just a throwback to Door, right? He's sort of just like, you know, as we've said with all the ultimates recently, right? The ultimate fights are essentially a retelling of the Minstrel's retelling. The Minstrels, if anyone doesn't know, being the game devs. It's their retelling of these fights in sort of the harder manner and stuff and thematic differences. I think the thematic here, I think the major theme of this fight was that Kefka is not actually Kefka's throwing random shit for fun. I think the main theme that they were going with this one was that this Kefka is not actually a clone, or not actually like something created by Omega. This is actually like the real Kefka, like the actual Kefka from FF, what is it, 6, FF3? I don't remember the numberings properly, but that this is actually the real Kefka from the Kefka game. And so he comes over, and it's sort of, that's why they said it was meta, because he sort of understands that. Yeah, I mean, you see it in the P3 cutscene, right? The puzzle felt like some of the shenanigans you see in multi reclears by people messing around. Yeah, I think, yeah, this P1 is sort of like, he's doing like Door things, right? Which is fine. And then we get to his P2 Godka, and he's sort of like doing the same things, right? The story is that he's, it happened, right? We told the minstrel, hey, we fought Clownka, we fought Godka. And then the story becomes like, what if this was actually Kefka? right? That's why he says it's his first time, right? Because he's actually Kefka from the other FF game, and he's not actually ever fought you before. And so we get to Godka, and he's sort of just like, the minstrel is telling the story properly, like this stuff happened, right? You fought Clownka, you fought Godka, and then he says, what if it was actually Kefka? What if it was a Kefka from the actual game? And he sort of like breaks the fourth wall, and then he starts taking control of like the game. He sort of starts like taking control of like the systems around the game, like he sort of takes control of like the server thematically, or for example, he takes control of however Omega is like making these things. And this P3 is actually quite it's pretty interesting. You sort of have Chaos and X-Death, and there's sort of like, you sort of have like a three-way fight going here. Chaos and X-Death are like sort of fighting against each other, not like, it's like very light fighting against each other, and Kefka is like having fun figuring out what he can do with the server mainframe and stuff. You missed the 1x1 death and rage. Yeah, it's the enrage is not like super cool either. I mean, they probably just like spent a lot of time working on like making a really well designed fight, and they pulled a little bit off of the thematics, I think. And but yeah, X-Death and Chaos here are like sort of like at odds with each other, because like you have this headwind tailwind thing, and I actually don't know who puts these orbs down. Do we have these orbs? And we did not have these orbs ever, right? Not in either of their fights, like anything even resembling them. But yeah, I think I mentioned it yesterday. The Dark Knight from Poikos, the Arc Lucius, was it? He mentioned that this Earthquake phase, it felt like they are definitely at odds with each other. Chaos gives you all of these debuffs, and throughout the phase, X-Death is like stripping you of the debuffs and giving you a new debuff. So like, it's quite an interesting take on this P3, and Kefka is sort of just like, he's just playing around with the server mainframe. He's like giving himself size changes. He's giving himself he gave himself the trance thing, and he's sort of just like having fun with the server mainframe while you go and trying to fight you down, all the while keeping his like chaotic nature, because he's yeah, kind of has a fucked up backstory. He just does all this silly stuff because that's what he is. He's like, he's chaotic evil, right? He's actually just chaotic evil in the like most, in like the best sense of it. Right? He's just like doing these really silly things, stomping on the arena, all these other things, while Excess and Chaos are having like a real fight. And then he says like, "Oh look, I'm just gonna bring them back. You just beat them up, but I'm just gonna bring them back." Yeah, it's thematically, it doesn't really like, it's not as gripping, or as what is the correct word? It's not really pulling you in as much as something like the DSR thematic, right? I still remember during DSR while I was progging it, one day I woke up, I was in the shower, and like I just ended up crying in the shower from A, all the stress, and B, from like I think the fact that Estinian dies in the alternate timeline. Right, you essentially save Harshafont, but you have to give up someone else, right? You give up Estinian. He gets consumed by Nidhogg, almost completely, I think. I don't actually know if he survives during the alternate timeline or not. And maybe, yeah. I mean, you essentially like, I think the way I thought about it was, you save Harshafont, and because you save Harshafont, the butterfly effect occurs, and all of these terrible things happen in Coarthus, right? we let Thornton go get a little more power and somehow gain control over a lot of the dragons. I imagine he goes over. I'm not exactly sure how he does it. I think he ends up going over to like the Allegan facility in Azizla, and he learns something about how to like. Right, I think Hraesvelgr has like a neural link on him, right? So he essentially like enslaves all the dragons while we're sitting there making sure Harshavon is okay, and we lose track of like where he went and stuff, right? So he ends up in Azizla and he has a neural link and he enslaves all the dragons, and then he comes back. Uh, he sends the dragons to. I'm not really sure exactly what the like theme is going on, but like both Nidhogg and Hraesvelgr come back and they're attacking Idleshire, right? I'm not exactly sure the motivation behind it, because theoretically Hraesvelgr is under control of Exdeath, or sorry, not Exdeath, of Thornton. I imagine Thornton just like sends it with Nidhogg because he's looking at getting all 4 eyeballs, and that's what he does at the end, right? He sort of sneaks in and takes all the eyeballs for himself, and he becomes Dragon King Thornton. And it's sort of just like this crazy, crazy, crazy theme of you know, you save this one person who died in the original timeline, and it just causes this long, long butterfly effect where maybe it was just better not to save them. And it's sort of just like a really, melancholic situation, right? Because when you play through the story, this guy is like your best friend. When you get over to Corythus, you've been exiled from ARR. You get to Corythus, and this guy's welcoming you in with big arms. And when you go through the, what is it called? The vault, was it? When you get through that, and I mean, it's a crazy emotional roller coaster, right? They just, he just ends up, you know, he passes away at the end of the vault, and it's been many years since that event, and I think many people are very fond of Harshavon because it's such a well written, part of Heavensward, and it's just so melancholic that saving him ends up putting the world in such peril. But yeah, DSR had a very good, very very well written story. Um, I think Top's themes were arguably much better than I think this Ultimate. You're fighting against Omega, and the entire time while you're fighting Omega is sort of tapping into this idea of Dynamis, right? And by the end of Blue Screen, he sort of like finds this willpower to like live on and survive, and he taps into Dynamis, and that's why they become like golden later. And then he keeps tapping into it, and then he finds someone that he wants to protect, or like he wants to, or they want to, like, it, I guess it is a problem, it wants to like continue on with Alpha the Chocobo, right? At the very end, they sort of build a bond, and they gain like an incredible amount of Dynamis power. They're just like throwing LB3s at the word, like back to back to back to back. And I mean, it's actually thematically, the Hop is actually quite an incredible fight. It's not as melancholic as DSR, but I mean, is DSR melancholic? I don't know if that's the right word I want to use, but it definitely has a different vibe from. It's sort of like you're sort of like watching like Dragon Ball Z in Top. It's sort of like action on action on action on action, and you're just increasing power levels on both sides, and it's sort of like I think during the golden phases, you're like stealing his Dynamis during like the Hello World bounces, and you end up, if you don't like get enough, if you don't like steal enough of his Dynamis, you don't have enough power when Alpha joins up with him to make the Alpha Omega. I mean, I think it's like quite a fun thematic. No, tragedy, yes. Yeah, I think it's probably a better word. The tragedy of saving Haurchefant. So we talked about 3 of them. The other 3 are what? Ucob, Uwu, and T. I think thematically, T is like, there's not really a theme going on. They sort of just like go full Power Rangers at the end, which is fine. I mean, I guess there's one thematic, the cat and the heart. So I didn't play, since I started in like Stormblood, and I don't think I paid too much attention to like the Heavensward story, to the post Heavensward story and the Alexander series. So I imagine there's some kind of lore reason why, like the cat related to Alexander. I do remember like bits and pieces of it, but I wasn't like really invested into that story. But I imagine thematically, if you understood what the codex meant, if you understood what the cat, I don't remember what the cat's name is, but if you thematically remember all of these things, it probably makes a little bit more sense about what happened. I mean, it's a lot of like time travel, I think, is what happened in that story. Uwu, I think, is again like sort of the. I mean, I don't actually think Uwu's theme. It's sort of like it didn't really change too much from the actual like trial fight that you do with Uwu with the ultimate weapon. Yeah, they sort of just like exaggerated all the details, which is, another way to do ultimate, which is completely fine. You sort of have like the battle focused, the more battle focused like thematic Dragon Ball Z ultimates, and then you also have the like more story based ultimates like Ucob, or Ucob T DSR. I guess we didn't talk about Fru. I guess Fru is also more thematically based. Yeah, so how many ultimates do we have now? Ucob, Uwu, T, DSR, Top, Fru, Kefka. 7. So 4 of these are very thematic, very story themed, right? Ucob, T, Fru, or DSR and Fru, right? So it almost feels like they're like switching back and forth between like the nice story ones and the sort of more like battle scaling one where you're just like fighting a bigger power, and you guys just keep going back and forth and getting stronger and stronger. Which is what the Uwu series, the Top series, and the Kefka series right now. And the other 4 are very story based, right? Fru is again, I think I did play Shadowbringers. I didn't pay too much attention to the Shadowbringers raid series, but as far as I know, thematically, Fru actually was pretty good. It's about we start up with Dancred, and it's sort of about like the story of Ryan and Gaia and Mitron, I believe. And Mitron is trying to bring Gaia back because I think Gaia has like a sort of tragedy where like she loses her memory every 100 years or something, when she like goes back into the live stream. I'm not really too clear exactly what is going on regarding the details there, but right, Mitron and Logriff are pretty much like lovers or something, like they're bonded. And right, Mitron is trying to, bring Gaia back, but like Gaia has started a new life from this reborn, when she's reborn most recently, and she's like created a bond with Ryan. And Mitron is basically like trying not to get NTR'd, but like, I mean, he just ends up losing the NTR because he's the evil guy. So I mean, it's kind of a weird story, I think, but yeah, it is still like a more thematic fight than like the Kefka, the Uwu series and stuff. And Ucob,
UCOB is sort of like UCOB. I think is sort of a mix of both ways. You sort of have the power scaling. You fight everything. Everything happens. Bahamut is doing like fucking crazy mechanics. And then at the end of at the end of Nail and Twintania phase, Louis Swat comes over and raises you, gives you a power buff, and you have to fight Golden Bahamut. And that is like, I think that was really, really cool back in the day. I wasn't part of the game back then, but like, I imagine if you were, right, it was really peak. It was probably like really cool to experience for the very first time. Yeah. I mean, in general, I think they've done a really good job with the ultimates from thematic and from like, just like battle design most of the time. I mean, Fruit was sort of off, but I mean, it'll just happen. Not all of them can be, you know, amazing, and it really depends on like how much time you have when you make these things. I imagine they're gonna go ahead and continue this like story-based ultimate, where they take a sort of longer time to make, and then it'll take like the more battle-focused ones where they take a shorter amount of time. But I mean, we'll see. I don't think we'll see the next ultimate for at least a year, right? Maybe 2 years. So we'll see what they pick next. Anyways, I think that is enough yapping from me.